साडी शान देखो मान सम्मान देखो पंजाबी मुंडे जिबे खड़ी है चट्टान देखो साडी पहचान देखो चंगा मैदान देखो वो के समय बैरी किन्ने ने हैरान देखो Your mama's home, we can bring it, we ain't got no shame. I came to play. There's a price to pay. Time for you to get down on your knees and pray. You say goodbye to the good old days. They're never coming back. Watch if you I came to play. Get my due pay. I guess you had a dream, but it what's up? Stay on the day, what's up? People over there, what's up? What's up? You can get with this, or you can get with that. You better get with this, cause this where it's at. In the dark, I feel at home. Time has passed and now I've grown. Used to dream I'd have it all. Now it's mine, I won't let go. In the dark, I feel it home. I'm here to show the world. I'm here to show the world. Come on, bring it on. Will I stay there or what should I do? You know that I'm here to get you. If you ever doubted me, you don't have a clue. I'm here to show the world. I'm here.
And hello everybody, welcome to the Go Home Wrestling Show. This is the SmackDown Live Review. My name is EJ. Alongside with me again is my tag team partner, D Shep. Alright, let's get right into it because there is a lot to cover compared to Raw last night. But we'll go through it quick. Basically, at this portion of the show, we're going to be covering SmackDown Live. Give our WWE Power Rankings, which we call the list, and then we're going to finish off the show where we call Chain Wrestle. 4 questions, real quick questions about things going on in the news of the WWE. Oh, you there? Oh crap! I don't know what happened there. I think I hung up by accident. Let's see. And it's gonna take forever to load, right? Yeah, of course. Well, while I'm loading that up, let's see. It should be in here. I see. Let's see if we get this up and running. Yeah. There we go. Now all of a sudden I can't hear you again. There you go. There you go. All right. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. Yeah, we're good now. I don't know what happened there. It shut down on me out of nowhere. All right, here we go. Sorry about that. Now that we're back live, I'll have to edit this out. Yeah, so we're going to be covering Raw, SmackDown, and... SmackDown, give our power rankings, and we're going to do our Chain Wrestle segment. All right, sorry, we got derailed on that. Sorry about that. All right, let's go right into it. We got a lot to cover. Of course, we're not going to talk about the New Day segment until later on in the show. The first thing we want to cover is Samoa Joe, Braun Strowman. And the reason I want to cover that is because, you know, you got the Superstar Shake-Up next week, and you're wondering, you know, who these guys are going to pair up with. You had Samoa Joe that had that little mini program that ended at WrestleMania with Rey Mysterio. So what's next for Samoa Joe? Who's going to be the next guy he's going to be facing and defend his U.S. title against? And we might have got a glimpse of it last night on SmackDown. Early in the show, R-Truth and Carmella came out to celebrate Carmella's Battle Royal win at Mania. And, of course, in the middle of that, Samoa Joe came out and immediately attacked R-Truth, getting him in a coquina clutch, choking him out. And then as he just threw him outside of the ring, he was talking trash and was calling out everyone in the WWE locker room that if they want to, you know, come up against him, he'll knock him out and choke him out quicker than... Oh, that would be hilarious. But unfortunately, they didn't do that. So, yeah, he was calling out the whole roster, saying he was going to, you know, whoever steps to him, he will choke him out quicker than he did to Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania. Then came out Braun Strowman, and them two battled it out for about a minute before Samoa Joe left the ring, retreated up the ramp, ending the segment. So, like I said, I wanted to cover this because who was the possibility? Like, is this a good possibility that we see these two? So, if they end up on the same brand, my question for you, actually, I should say, if they end up on the same brand, which brand do you think it is? And would you be okay with seeing these two in a U.S. title feud? Yeah. Okay, going on what you said, as far as this week, I could understand people from both brands going back and forth because they're in the same town. I mean, it was everyone was in Brooklyn. Like next week, everyone's gonna be in Montreal. They're gonna have 2 nights in the same arena in Montreal, like they did this week with WrestleMania. So I kind of understand that. Also, in the process, they are promoting. I guess the way to promote it is that here you could possibly see these guys over there, like you saw. We'll talk about it later on the show. But Drew McIntyre on SmackDown, and it got me thinking: is there a possibility that could happen? So we will find out, obviously, next week. So overall, I mean, I like it, like what they were doing, because it was all it was advertising. It didn't do. I don't think it hurt anything. But as far as Samoa Joe, I think they will be on a Raw brand. I think he's going back over. I think they're going to switch the IC and US over, which would be good. I'm not sure. All I was saying, I think Finn Balor's going to SmackDown. So the IC title is going to go over there. I feel Samoa Joe. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you could have multiple big names make the transfer. I don't know if you're getting good get Balor and Roman to make the switch.
Yeah, well, obviously we'll see with that. They might change our minds. Yeah, I don't know if I could see Braun Strowman on SmackDown. A little too big of a guy, because you know all the big guys are all on Raw. If you put him on SmackDown, geez, it's like putting Lesnar. Would you expect someone like Lesnar on SmackDown?
No, but I could see Lars, Roman, and maybe one other B type name all make the switch. I think that's where Lars makes the most sense.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna have Strowman over there too, one thing I do want to add about that, which I know we're gonna get into more lately, but since we're talking about Strowman now, I am really fucking happy that we didn't go straight into Strowman and Lars. Thank God. Let's see what Lars has to offer before we jump into that and just completely kill his character.
Yeah. Do you think that could be a WrestleMania?
I don't know if it needs. I don't. Oh God, I think it'd be disastrous as a Mania match. But could it be? Could it be a top match that's not a title match on a future pay-per-view? Sure.
Okay.
But I could see Lars versus Braun for the U.S. title as like the 4th or 5th main event. I don't think it would headline a pay-per-view. God, no.
No. Okay. All right. I just wanted to get your take because I saw it. It was very interesting that Strowman going over there. And again, I understand why they were doing it. It was just to promote the Superstar Shake-Up. They just happen to be in the same town like they are going to be next week. It's the same thing.
I think you can get away because you're going to have Bray Wyatt returning soon too. And since you got the Hardys on SmackDown, you're probably not going to put Bray over there because you're not going to want to dick tease that shitty tag team again.
Oh no.
So if you send Lars and Strowman and Roman over to SmackDown and send all them big guys over there, you're getting a big guy back right away with Bray Wyatt. And then if you could start pushing guys like EC3, which there was a rumor of the SmackDown pre-match last night that they didn't air, that Drake Maverick was managing him. So it makes sense from the point that AOP, they stay on Raw when they, eventually come back. And then you can have a little stable there with EC3 mixed in too, with Drake. And then you have Bray Wyatt. So you're going to replenish on Raw, which you can always replenish on Raw a lot easier. than SmackDown. So I
Yeah.
think they could get away with sending 3 or 4 big names over to SmackDown.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens next week. I just wanted
And
to
you're
get
gonna
your take
probably
on that.
get Bar over to Raw too. So
That I see too, but there's another thing I have in mind with that. So we'll get to that later on in the show. All right. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was Shane McMahon. You know, coming out, gloats over his victory at WrestleMania. Shane came out to address the universe for the first time since Best in the Miz at WrestleMania. Well, I guess you could say that because, I mean, he did get the pin after being suplexed off the camera, whatever, platform. It was going on about how he beat him and he was insulting his dad. And then as he continued to boast, he forced Greg Hamilton, which is the ring announcer, to announce his greatness as best in the world, dragging the announcer by his tie up the ramp until he was pleased with his delivery. Now, we were talking a little bit about Shane's heel run. At this point, I mean, you said this could slowly, morph into the Mr. McMahon character 2.0. Do you feel it's going that direction? How do you feel, now that post-match?
I feel like it's going that direction, but I was not a fan of last night. I think last night he took a step back, in my opinion, as far as the heel thing was concerned. I know it's something back in the day that Vince would have did too, and I get that, but you can't get away with the bully tactics of a heel like you could in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little uncomfortable to watch because last thing we heard, remember, not too long ago on SmackDown also, the whole JBL Mark Raffiano, or however you pronounce his last name, situation. And you're always talking, even during Raw and SmackDown this week, you literally had anti-bullying commercials on both shows multiple times.
Yeah.
And then you do what you did with Shane. If it was just a couple times in the ring, getting him to repeat it, I was good with it.
Mm-hmm.
But then when he dragged him around by the tie, that was a bit too much. Was it funny as me being an asshole? Absolutely. I laughed my ass off. But it don't have a place in the current product. So the more I think about it, I don't know if Mr. McMahon's character could be pulled off these days like it was pulled off in the late 90s, early 2000s. I don't know if that's where we're at right now. I'm curious to see if he's just going to keep doing that. I thought one time with the announcer was enough at Mania, but is this going to be a new weekly thing? And then if he doesn't get it right one week, is he going to just fire him? And I don't get where they're going with that. I hope they just drop this, though. I'm not a fan of it.
I think it's a cool down from what happened at Mania. I think it's going to get better, in my opinion. I do like the fact that it's an ego thing, the whole best in the world, and he just soaks it in, and he closes his eyes and soaks it in. It's that arrogance that I do like, which is every McMahon for that point. They're all like that. I do love that aspect of it. Bullying, if people are really butthurt over the guy dragging the dude up the ramp because he didn't like the way he was introduced, well, so be it. Then you're a weakling. I think it's hilarious. I think it's funny. That's the way it should be. And if you get butthurt by something like that with bullying, dude, that's not the product for you. It's not the product for you.
That's, like I said, I find it hilarious.
I'm not saying you, but if anyone did.
It's just weird timing when you do that, and then on the very next commercial break, you have a bullying commercial. That's weird.
Yeah, I understand that. And as far as, I have to correct you, because I thought it was funny what you said. His name's Mauro Ranallo.
I couldn't remember his last name.
Marco Ruffalo.
I thought it was Mark for some reason.
I'm sorry. I can't help myself on that one.
Maybe I was thinking of the guy who plays Hulk on Avengers. That's probably what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
I think he's Mark, right?
Yes. All right.
Yeah, that's where I got confused.
That's okay. You're excused.
I've been watching too many Avengers trailers. My bad.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. All right. So, no, like I said, I wanted to cover that because I do like what they did with that. It was a cool down period. It wasn't as much hype, as, the build up into the match with The Miz. But I can't wait to see where they go from here. Is it going to be a continuation? I could see going into a summer program. I don't think this was the only match between the two because the way that ended, I can tell you now, there's going to be more than one match. And I think the icing on the cake will be at SummerSlam. Mark Ruffalo or whatever is Hawk. Yeah. All right. Of course, for people that, if we're going to be responding to chat, so if you listen to this on podcast form, we are live at 11:30 on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We cover Raw on Tuesdays, SmackDown on Wednesdays. We're live on Twitch, Mixer, YouTube, and Periscope under the name Go Home Wrestling Show. All right, let's cover the next thing. We got new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. And we'll get into this. I think we might have opposing opinions, but we'll see. The Usos defended their titles against the Hardy Boys. What's up, Dan Diz? It's the first ever time these two teams have ever met, so it was exciting. I was excited to see this. It wasn't the greatest of matches, but it was good for what it is, considering, the age of the Hardys and how great the Usos are. It did still mix very well, but if it was 5 years ago, I think we would have had a different match. But overall, it was a good match. Hardy Boys did get the win with the Twist of Fate Swanton Bomb combo.
You almost had it.
And there we are. We got new SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions. But the celebration was short-lived as Lars Sullivan came out again and attacked both of the Hardy Boys, ended the segment. But I want to get your take on these two questions. What did you think in the match? And how do you feel about them giving the Hardys the titles?
I loved every bit of this.
I'm surprised.
This, because, if you would have asked me 3-4 months ago about the Hardys winning the tag titles again, I would have told you to shut the fuck up. But they did a smart thing with these guys because Matt came back in hella shape after all that time off.
Yeah.
Jeff can't go as a singles guy no more, and to a certain extent, Matt probably can't either.
No.
So this was smart to put them back together, and this is probably 90% chance this is their last run, however long this lasts. So I was okay with them beating the Usos because it was shock factor. Nobody expected the Hardys to win that match. You got to be crazy after the great match that Usos had at Mania. So no one thought this was going to happen. I was happy. And then the fucking attack by Lars. If you remember, just yesterday, I said I was a little disappointed who Lars attacked. I would have had something like Riders and Hawkins, the tag champ. Have him come out and destroy the shit out of them. Here we are 24 hours later, and that's essentially what he does. He comes out and destroys a more legitimate tag team than Hawkins and Ryder would have been, as my first suggestion was. So this was absolutely perfect. The crowd heat was far greater for Lars on SmackDown than it was on Raw. So everybody, I think, on Raw was just shocked to actually see him, whereas this was more like, yeah, you fucking suck. They even had the "you can't wrestle" chant going. This was fucking beautiful. And you can tell nothing is probably going to happen with Matt and Jeff and Lars. This was just a one-off attack. Here's your new monster. Put them over. That's exactly what they did. I wouldn't be surprised if we pair up Lars with a couple guys and maybe there's a 6-man tag eventually. But I think for a while we're just going to see Lars come out and beat up random people for a while, and I'm good with that. I think that's somewhat smart. Get him used to the crowd, not have to concentrate on remembering a move set for a match setup. He can just come out there, hit his spots, and then dip. Will get him used to being in front of the crowd before you start throwing him into regular 5 to 15-minute matches. So I don't really see anything negative for anything that happened with this. This was absolutely perfect.
Okay, I was surprised to get your take on that because, overall, I didn't think how you would have liked the Lars thing. I was surprised that you did like it.
I was feeling Lars like maybe someday a 1 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
After SmackDown, I was easily up to a 2.5 on Lars already.
Okay.
That did a lot more, in my opinion, to come out there. Because that match with the Usos wasn't that long. So the Hardys were a little fresher than your typical beatdown after a match thing. And he came out there and obliterated them. And I love his big splash headbutt from the top rope. We haven't seen nothing like that since Benoit. Probably they were holding off a guy doing that because of that comparison for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But that big man can get up them ropes quick, and I was a little bit more impressed on SmackDown than Raw.
Huh? Oh, you got sound there. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, no. Oh, no. I don't know what happened there. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Let's see. I'll tell you one thing.
You hear me?
Headphones. Alright, can you say something? I don't know why all of a sudden I can't hear him. I was troubleshooting. You there?
Yeah.
Nope. Okay, hold on. Gotta put on the other headset. Oh! Alright, I don't know why. I'm having connection issues.
Last Velveeta. Hey.
You there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Alright.
I heard you the whole time asking me to talk and all that when whatever happened. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's because Comcast sucks, man. I gotta call up because we pay for his service and it's utter garbage. Utter garbage. I'll tell you now, Xfinity, Comcast, whatever you guys have, it's horseshit. It sucks.
No, we're pretty much with the same people because I have Charter Spectrum and that's all falls under the same umbrella.
Yeah, I do apologize for that. All right, so let's go back into it. My take on the whole SmackDown Tag Team titles, it seems like the Usos are going to Raw. That's evident. All of a sudden, they dropped the titles.
That's what we've been calling for months, too.
Yeah! All right, hold on. Jesus Christ. Timing. My kid's timing. Can you hold on a second?
Yeah, you're fine.
All right, I'm going to have to edit this out. The timing's unbelievable. Give me 1 second. We'll be right back, folks. Just chat with the fans. Hold on.
Yeah, kids can be unpredictable. No, I didn't think I was going to be a big fan of Lars. I pretty much the whole time thought this was going to be practically one and done, and I thought that before the mental stuff even happened. I didn't see nothing big happening with him. But, Raw was okay. I didn't agree with who he attacked, but it was okay. But SmackDown, he looked a lot fucking better. And Hardys have been looking better. Yeah, full-grown adults can be unpredictable too. That's for sure. That's for sure. No, this was a lot better. I almost prefer if this was Lars' debut, but I understand. But like EJ said, it does seem like the Usos are on their way to Raw, which is great. Excuse me. Maybe a bullshit team like B Team or a couple other teams like Ascension or whatever can head over to SmackDown. SmackDown was always tag team heavy anyway. So if we get the Bar and the Usos over to Raw, I think that's a step in the right direction. Riders and Hawkins. Yeah, it's probably a comedy team, so to speak, for a little while, but it should be decent enough to watch. It's not going to put butts in the seats anymore. This ain't like Ryder 5 years ago, Ryder, but he's still got a hell of a following, man, and it can't be disputed. So I think we're finally going to have a legitimate tag team division. I could also see maybe Revival making the jump to SmackDown. That wouldn't be surprising until whenever their contracts are up, and then they're probably gone anyway. So, but it can give a little short-term jolt to SmackDown Tag Division if they're going to be sending all these teams over. So, well, it's remaining to be seen. You got any thoughts on that, Dan Diz? Did you like that setup with Lars a little better than the Raw one? I thought it was pretty good. I was pretty happy. What the hell?
All right, I'll have to edit that out. So what is that, the 27 mark? Okay. All right, let me get back into it. And hello, everyone. Thank you so much. The one thing I'll say is about as far as the Hardys winning, I'm happy with it. Like I said, it was evident that with them losing, they're probably going to go to Raw, and they need to rebuild that tag team division. It is on dire straits right now. They need it. They really, really need it.
So I think we're pretty much at the point where the most likely scenario is you're going to get Usos and Bar jumping to Raw. You're going to get Revival and one of the random BS teams to jump over to SmackDown. It could be Ascension, it could be B Team, it could be whatever.
Yeah.
But I think you're pretty much guaranteed at this point to get Revival over until their contracts are up, and then kind of go from there. Whether they resign or not doesn't look very likely, but I think that's the direction they're going to go.
Yeah. So I'm happy with that. And if this is their last run, if this is the way to help the tag team division, I'm happy with that. Good for the Hardy Boys. I'm happy with them doing that.
Do we need to send a little video of the Hardys win the tag titles to McGriff though, just as a shout out?
Yeah. You know what? I'll do that today. Yeah, he'll be raging for sure. And I'm sure he did. I like that. I like they got the titles. I know they're going to help the tag division. And obviously, the Usos going over there would help the Raw tag team division quite a bit. They're going to need a little bit of switch up. But also, do you see, like, one minor note before we go on to the next thing is the fact that you're going to be moving some of these guys on SmackDown over to Raw. If they start moving big names from Raw to SmackDown before this Fox, when they move over to Fox in October, what does that tell you about SmackDown compared to Raw when October comes? Would that be the new A show?
It's going to be a priority. I think we're going to have 2 A shows now. Absolutely. They're going to put more of a focus on SmackDown.
Well, hopefully we do see that. All right, so we got new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. That's awesome. Great. So we got 2 new champions in the Tag Team division this week. Let's go on to the double champ herself, Becky Two Belts. Becky gives a speech to the WWE Universe. She came out and addressed the SmackDown Live faithful about her victory in the Triple Threat match. This time, like she was talking about the match itself on Monday Night Raw. This time, she was focused on her being the double champion and defending the double champion. She will be on both. She will be on both brands, defending the title, and I think that is awesome. And I have a question for that later on in the show about that. Of course, after her promo and talking about her defending the title on both brands, she's going to work both shows. As she goes up to the ramp, raises the titles in the air, was immediately attacked by Lacey Evans. I gotta get your take. I'm very curious of what your take on this one is. How did you feel about that little particular part, and what do you feel about this little build that they have going with Lacey Evans and Becky Lynch?
The build on Raw was unbelievable.
Yeah.
This was very, very bad. The only reason I'm going there is because Becky oversold the living shit out of this punch to the point where it was pretty obvious that this punch sucked far worse than the first punch.
Okay.
But yet this one was the one that she oversold. And then she oversold it so long, there wasn't a bra.
No.
What? What? There wasn't even a massive stare down, really. Because when Lacey, when she does her little walk back and she gets to just about that last step, she pops her head back out and looks at you sideways. That didn't even happen. It felt very weird. I love that they're still building on the feud. I just didn't agree with this one piece of the puzzle.
Could be the fact because of what happened the night before. That was unexpected. That you kind of expected something again, and that's all it was. Did that have anything to do with it?
I don't know. I think they were almost a bit better off not doing anything than doing what they did.
I think they could have done something else. Yeah, I agree with you. She did oversell that because she took a good punch, and if they showed it in slow motion earlier in that show, and yeah, it was a punch. And here you are. She got
one was weak.
Yeah, it wasn't as good.
It was more of a forearm than a punch, too. By the way.
Yeah. If they would have done something else, even if attacked her more, chair shot, something. I know.
Attack her from behind, coming from like the ring side of things, like one of them side tunnels you always hear them talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're so used to Lacey coming out the top of the ramp. Have Lacey, as Becky's walking up the ramp, come up from behind from one of them side tunnels. I think that would have been better, even.
No, I agree with you. That actually would have been a better move.
Something different.
Yeah,
and I would have much preferred. I know the punch is kind of Lacey's finish move. They kind of hinted at last night.
Yeah.
But I would have rather had a brawl where she attacked her from behind, coming from the ring side of things. I think would have been much better.
Okay. Yeah, I think the unexpected.
But for the most part, I'm happy that they're still building on it.
Yeah.
So I just didn't like this one, but.
I just hope it's not overbooked. Just keep it simple, like they did with the Kofi storyline, like they did with a couple other things, and it was good because it was simple. It wasn't overbooked. This, like last night when she popped her for the first time, that was awesome. Hopefully they keep this momentum going. I know it was a call-off night because it was
felt like you said. This one felt more overbooked, even though there was less fighting, because somebody told Becky to oversell that second punch. Somebody had to tell her, because there's just no fucking way.
Well, if that's her finisher, then obviously, like you said, that's probably.
But that's the problem. Like you said, you had such a realism, feel, and energy with the first attack.
Yeah.
That the second one just felt more scripted, and that's not how you want to build one of them high octane personal feuds.
I'm sure there'll be more to it because, again, you got the Southern Belle. Her character is like, oh, I'm going to bring class to the women's division. Becky is obviously not one of those. So I think that's where it's going to be a simple storyline between the two, where one is the classy one, the other one is the anti-hero, is more of the female version of Stone Cold. I know a lot of people hate that comparison, but that's what her persona is. It really is that way. It's just another version of what what Stone Cold was. So overall, this was a cool down. We still got plenty of weeks to come. I feel this is going to be the summer program for the women's division. I can't wait to see that. All right. Let's go into the final thing that we're going to discuss before we go on to the list, our power rankings, and then, of course, our chain wrestle segment where we got 4 questions for you and myself to answer. Yep. New Day and the Bar with Drew McIntyre. Now, they started off the show, New Day, with a celebration for Kofi Kingston's WWE title victory at WrestleMania. They did a great celebration. You got a nice heart. What's that? As he's eating a burrito and he's going to eat as he talks. Yes, that's awesome. Kofi gave a nice heartfelt speech and then was later on interrupted by the Bar. They came out and said immediately that that Kofi should thank him for saving his ass because he was about to lose to Seth Rollins and he was going to drop that WWE title just under 24 hours from winning it. So they wanted to be thanked for that. And of course, they weren't going to do that. The Bar also said that they made a friend in the backstage at Monday Night Raw the night before. And they challenged the New Day to a 6-man tag with the Bar.
And
New Day.
Teddy Long was smiling. You had 2 6-man tags on one show.
Yep. I love 6-man tags.
Somewhere. And a tag team title match. So you had 3 tag team matches.
I was happy with it. I always love tag matches. Well, they challenged the New Day. They accepted. The person was Drew McIntyre. That was their partner for this match. Later on Oh, we'll get into that. Later on that night, the main event, the 6-men faced off in a 6-man tag. Of course, the New Day gets the victory when Kofi nailed Cesaro. Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't Cesaro. It was Sheamus with the Trouble in Paradise for the 1, 2, 3. Good, happy moment. He brings in the family.
That was a very bad Trouble in Paradise, though. It didn't have the same thunder behind it that it usually has.
It's not always a win, my friend. I get your point, though. I do get your point. Now, my question for you is, what do you think of picking him? What did you think of the match? Because I'll tell you, man, even though it was a 10-man match, I think it was still very entertaining. But I want to get your take as far as the match.
I enjoyed this a lot more than the Raw main event. Because it just felt over the top random on Raw.
Yeah.
Because this had a little bit more hatred behind it. Because now it seems like they're going with some kind of feud with Bar and New Day. And to sprinkle in Drew out of nowhere, absolutely fantastic. Perfect choice. If you got all these guys bouncing around on shows anyway, this was fucking perfect. I really can't complain on this either. This is the second time on SmackDown. I have no complaints whatsoever. This was absolutely fantastic.
I am so with you. It was a great match. Like I said, it was only 10 minutes, but it did its job. It doesn't have to be a 20-minute marathon to be a great match. It told a great story. You seen the heat between the New Day and the Bar. That's been going on for quite a while. And throw it in the mix of Drew McIntyre. Let me be honest with you. These are 3 men that are from overseas. I could see a nice faction forming, and I think they sprinkled in or told us in a way that this could be a possibility that we could see Drew McIntyre and SmackDown, and with them going to Fox, that could be one of the right guys that they could bring over from Raw to SmackDown.
You know, after he lost that big match to Roman, and if Roman don't go to SmackDown, then Drew is the obvious perfect choice. You throw him right in there with Kofi right out the chute.
Mm-hmm.
It writes itself, that feud. It really does. You just would sit back and just fucking enjoy it. You wouldn't have nothing to complain about a Kofi-Drew feud.
No, I wouldn't.
Hope they go that route. You know, I'm going to be disappointed to see Drew leave Raw. He's done great things, but, man, that's a good feud right there, Drew and Kofi.
Yeah, but let's be honest, okay? He was part of the mid-card mafia, you know, with Lashley and Baron Corbin. And no disrespect. I mean, this is where they are. That's their position right now. I think if he was to go to SmackDown, he would immediately go to where he belongs and be in that program with Kofi Kingston. Now, here's the thing.
He's legit the top heel on SmackDown the moment he showed up last night.
Yep, and it was brilliant. And the pairing up, I think they'll keep the Bar over there because you're going to still need a good stacked tag team division on SmackDown, especially when they go over to Fox. And if you wanted more wrestling-related program compared to Raw, where it's more of an entertainment, because that's what Fox said. They want a more professional wrestling show. Bar is one good tag team. If you're going to keep a tag team on there, if you're going to send Usos over the wall, you got to keep the Bar over there. And if you bring McIntyre into that, that would be a great 3-man faction. That again, it could be like the Shield versus, you know, Strowman, McIntyre, and Ziggler last year. This year, you could have the Bar with Drew McIntyre going up against the New Day around the World WWE Championship. That would be awesome. I think it would be a great program. And in the process, you're still protecting Kofi because the size difference, obviously, there is a big difference. But Kofi does have the heart, and that's where the story be told, that no matter how big you are, I will still take you out. But yeah, overall, I mean, I can't wait to see where they go from this. I hope to see Drew McIntyre on SmackDown start next week. All right. That was pretty much the show. This is the point of the show. Hello, the one and only OG. What's up? Oh yes, hey, what's up, Stoner?
Fucking
how
stoners.
He's from the all day. It's all good. We're at the point of the show where we cover. We rate SmackDown Live from 1 to 5. I mean, we gave a pretty low rating for Raw yesterday. What did we give SmackDown today?
This is, man. I have to go 4.5. Just a shade from perfection. Just a shade. Little too much with the 6-man stuff, but I get it. I loved it. It turned out well, but it just wouldn't have been my top choice. I'm going to go 4.5.
All right, you're going to give me shit. Ladies and gentlemen, first time ever on Raw or SmackDown, you're getting a perfect 5. A fucking 5 from me. Everything was perfect with that show. Yes, the Lacey Evans, she oversold that, but you know what? That was enough to take a point away. Because you know what? It's still lit. People are still buzzing about that possibility of that program. You got 2 great 6-man tag matches. You have new tag champions. That was a great tag team match for what it was.
I want to throw one little side question at you that I wish I thought of earlier.
What's that?
We need to see Lacey Evans wrestle a match of any kind before the Becky match.
Oh, we will. You're going to see that.
No, do we need it, though, to make the feud top it off?
No, I don't think.
I would personally hold her out until the Becky match, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Mm-hmm. No.
I just saw a little fun thing to kind of think about, because it just seems like they're leaning that way where they might not have her wrestle a match before Becky, and I think that's a good thing.
Well, that's a mystery. It's the mystery of, and I'm sure on TV they're probably not going to face off. I'm sure she's doing, like house shows. I'm sure they're going to do something because you got to get that chemistry going. You got to be if you're going to put
No. I mean, are you going to have Lacey just fight some random other chick, whether it's local talent or anything like that? And I would say no.
No. As far as TV going into the pay-per-view, you want to have that mystery of what can she take out Becky. You don't want her like have any sort of like altercation between the two as far as like a match, because it would take away from their main match, whether if it's SummerSlam, whether it's Extreme Rules or anything. I'm sure everything sets up for SummerSlam at this point, and if that's the program you want, if you tell a great story from now to then, yeah, it's fine. And she'll have title defenses probably along the way before that big match with Lacey Evans. But I think the more they stay out of the ring as far as the match between the two, the better. So, yes, I think you'll probably see her. But do you not?
There is one other topic from SmackDown I do want to talk about before we move on to the list and all that.
Sure.
And that's the Paige tease.
I did forget about that.
Is that going to be something fire? Now, the dream God scenario would be Paige teaming up with AJ, but obviously for a bunch of reasons we know that's probably not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody wants to say Sky Pirates. That seems like the obvious choice. Do you think it's going to be Sky Pirates? And if it's not Sky Pirates, who is it?
Sky Pirates. I automatically assume they're going to have to call up some women up there. That bring it, you know, because if you're focusing on tag teams too, along with the singles titles, well, like we assumed when they did that triple threat, they would have combined the titles, but obviously that's not going to happen. They said they're going to keep them separate. They're going to have brands, so you're going to have your individual brand champions. Just it so happens one of them owns both, but that will probably end eventually. I think if you want a more legit tag team division for the women's division, you got to start bringing some people up. Sky Pirates might be those two individuals, the team that would face the Iconics in the future. And it would be good for them.
Does it seem like, is Paige just going to introduce these people and like do the guest host type thing? Or is she going to actually be like a managerial role?
Now it seems like WWE is going that approach with the managerial, like having managers again. Stokely Hathaway. That guy's the manager. They brought him in just to be a manager. You got Leo Rush being the manager. I think he's doing better and better by the week. A lot of people not a big fan of him. I'm a huge fan of Leo Rush. He's getting better and better. You got Drake Maverick.
Now that Leo cut down on a lot of that screaming shit, he's been a lot better.
Yes, absolutely. And then you got Drake Maverick, which we'll be talking about with EC3 in just a few moments. Another manager. So Paige is a person that's great on the mic. We all agree with that. Her being a manager, I would so be for it. And I think they might be going that way because she is obviously retired from an injury that she can never recover from. So I'm sure they still. Hopefully one day she will be.
I think it's the Daniel Bryan situation.
Yeah, it could be. I think until then, they want to keep her on camera. I know they took time.
So young still that the odds for a comeback someday are far greater.
Yeah, and obviously she's money on the mic. They want to keep her there. And I think if there is a possibility until that moment, yes, put her on the mic, have her be a manager. It's going back to the 80s, man, with Bobby Heenan, Slick Rick, all these great managers. Mr. Fuji, I'm telling you, I'm so glad they're bringing this back to the WWE. It's refreshing to see something like that. It's something from our childhood, man. That's something we grew up on. So I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. All right, so you got anything else to cover before we move on to the list?
No.
We're all good?
That was one thing I wanted to add.
No problem. That's cool. Yeah, I'm glad we talked about that. That's something we should have brought up. And, we'll talk off air about that. All right, here we go. This next portion of the show is our version of the WWE Power Rankings. It is called The List. You want me to start off this week? I'll start it off this week.
I'm ready.
Oh, you want to go this week? All right, go. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wasn't ready too much the other day. Pretty much, this was one of the more easy lists to do, based off Mania, based off Raw, based off SmackDown. I mean, everybody I put on the list, even if you didn't agree with one or two, you'll still understand why they're on the list, and same vice versa with me, with you. You can make a 1 through 10 list and not have any disputes between us, I think. But we're just going with our usual top 5. At 5, I got to go with the edge to Ryder and Hawkins over the Hardy Boys. As much as the Hardy Boys are a more legitimate team, the fact that they got 2 straight reigns or 2 straight wins against the Revival, fantastic. So I got to give them a little credit. Okay. And then, for one of the very few times, I'm going to throw NXT love. And I'm going to throw Johnny Gargano at number 4.
Oh,
that
nice.
Match he had was
incredible.
The best NXT match I've ever seen. And you have like 10 million NXT great, phenomenal matches to choose from. But we counted Gargano out in that match at least a half dozen times. We thought it was done, and it wasn't. Nope. So I got to throw him on there. And then I'm just going to go with the typical stock top 3 at this point. And that's Kofi at 3 for obvious reasons. Seth Rollins at 2. But then Becky, 2 belts at number 1.
All right.
Duh.
Well, we're pretty similar. My number 5 is the same as yours. Kurt Hawkins, Zack Ryder. Obviously, you have to be on the list because they gained the Raw Tag Team Champions. And then the very next night on Raw, they defeat the Revival again, retaining the title, so they put at number 5. You'll be shocked with my number 4. I didn't go with NXT on this, and if I would, I would be with you with Gargano. But I'm sticking with the main roster.
We almost had our first unified list.
I know, we almost did. I'm going with number 4 with the Hardy Boys, and you're going, wait a minute, Hardy Boys are ahead of Kurt Hawkins, but they got 2 victories over that. All right, I understand the Revival's a really good tag team, but Usos, in my opinion, far more superior as a tag team than the Revival. And for Hardy Boys at their age to defeat a young tag team like the Usos, that I got to put them on a higher ranking, so they're my number 4. Number 3 is your new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. That is Kofi Kingston. After a great victory at WrestleMania, also getting that victory in that 6-man tag. I would love to put him higher, but these next 2, it's kind of hard to do that. And that's my number 2 with Seth Rollins. Starting off WrestleMania hot and heavy with a freaking great match with Lesnar. You kind of changed my opinion about that yesterday. And, of course, getting the victory over the Beast Incarnate. And here we are, the new Universal Champion, Seth Rollins. That's my number 2. And finally, at number 1, how could you not put this person at number 1? And that is Becky Two Belts. Becky Lynch, your Raw and SmackDown Live Women's Champion. And that, my friends, is our list. All right. Well, yeah, we're pretty close. The only difference we had was number 4. You showing love for NXT. And I'm glad to see that.
Even I understand why Hardy Boys, and you obviously, if you were going to throw an NXT, that's who the guy you would have picked too. So we're pretty agreement this week.
Yeah, I'm shocked. All right, let's go into the following segment of the show, and this is called Chain Wrestle. 5 quick questions that we just throw at each other, and we answer them real quick. This week, we only got 4. We're going to go with 4 on this one. Normally, we would have 5, but this week, we're going to go with 4. All right, question number 1. Becky Lynch obviously wanted both titles at WrestleMania. Question is, right now, how long do you think Becky Lynch will be a dual champion?
When's Money in the Bank?
Money in the Bank is in May.
Until Money in the Bank.
Okay. I think till SummerSlam.
I just think I want it to go at least a month or 2. I think this is a cap out at like 2 months tops. But it just makes the most sense at Money in the Bank to do a ladder match of some kind. Becky pulls down one title but can't pull down the other title. And then that way you keep Becky strong because she won. And then the other person, you have that battle at the end. And somebody pulls down one belt and Becky pulls down the other belt. I think that's how you do it.
All
if
right.
they're keeping 2 belts like they say they are. So that's my gut feeling.
Okay. I think SummerSlam. I think that's when it will happen. And then, because by that, I think she'll probably...
Is she going to lose both belts when she loses?
One.
Or just one?
She'll lose one. She'll lose one. And I think for now, you don't want to take the focus off of that. So that's why I'm saying the Lacey Evans and her angle is going to be the hot.
We got to get a little merch first with Becky Two Belts, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're going to ride that out to SummerSlam.
We got to capitalize on that short-term merch.
Yep. And that's what they will do until SummerSlam. You got, 4 months before that. All right, here we go.
I'm sure it's going to be irrelevant in a couple months, but we're all still going to probably think about spending $25 on it. That's the funny part.
Yeah, I know. You still got your B-Team shirt?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't dust it off very often anymore because, well...
You jumped the gun on that one, buddy.
I was behind it, man.
I know.
Man.
We all were. All right. Let's go to the next question. It was reported, like you said, you mentioned this earlier in the show, that EC3 was in a show before SmackDown Live came on, and... I'm sorry, someone in chat, you bastard. Nice. Well, we're in agreement, so there you go. EC3 has a new manager, and it's Drake Maverick. How do you feel about Drake Maverick being this manager? We already discussed this kind of in a way, but do you feel this is the perfect match between them two?
It was obvious at this point that they didn't believe in EC3 as a singles guy, or he just would have been out there more often. So they had to do something with him. So Drake does make the most sense because they have that past history, which you can still allude to without mentioning TNA, really, because for some reason they can mention AEW practically, but TNA they have a much harder time with, unless it's one of those network shows where it's like the photo shoot and then the AJ or Samoa Joe won those episodes where they acknowledged it. But other than that, it's not going to get acknowledged, but I'm somewhat excited at a future 3-man stable with Drake, AOP, and EC3. I think AOP can turn into henchmen, obviously, for a future IC run for EC3 against Finn. I think I'm down with that.
All right. Another thing that's been rumored is that Corbin, after getting the victory over Kurt Angle at WrestleMania, people wondering, where is he going to go next? This is a heel that needs to keep the momentum going. Well, it's being rumored that it's going to be Roman Reigns and them two going at it, Money in the Bank.
Continue on his momentum, then you're pretty much.
Well, is it Corbin the best next opponent for Roman? If not, who should he pair up with next? I mean, Corbin, he has to be paired up with someone to keep this momentum going. He's doing very good. He's a great heel. We all agreed about that. We talked about it yesterday. Is there anybody on that roster that you'll pair him up with right now?
I can't honestly think of anybody besides Roman, and it's a bad situation because Roman's probably going to win the match, and it's going to kill all the momentum you just gave Corbin coming off Mania. I'm nervous about this. I'm very, very nervous about this because I think you're crushing Corbin with this. So you got to, if it's not Roman, it's got to be an above and beyond fan favorite.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of them on Raw right now, so maybe if it's somebody coming over, if Bray Wyatt is indeed a face coming back, I think that would be a good choice. But beyond that, it's got to be an over face, and there's not a lot of those right now.
I think Roman is the best guy, and I'll tell you why. Then they have to go this way, because what are you hearing during the entrances of Roman Reigns in the last this week alone? You've been hearing what again? Boos. You've been hearing the boos again. So what do you do to stop that? There's still people cheering because of the sympathy, because of what his battle with leukemia. Well, keep that going with a sympathy angle, and no better way to get a man more heat and people more sympathy for Roman than to have Corbin go over on. Corbin beat Roman. That's the best way you can do it. In my opinion, perfect booking. That's the way you'll want it.
Shoot yourself in the ass, and the fans still go with Corbin over Reigns.
And
then you're fucked.
And then at that point, how could you not turn this guy heel?
Dead at that point.
You would have to turn him heel. Yeah, well, you would have to turn him heel.
If Corbin is going to get cheered over Roman, as Roman is now, is dead.
Yeah.
Dead man walking.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah, no, you're right with that. Well, we'll see what they do, but that's being rumored. And I figured I'll throw that out there because, we've been talking about Corbin and his work, going into that match with Kurt Angle and how great he's been. Going back to last year when he was the Constable, how he's been good as a heel. So I wanted to get your take on that.
The problem with someone like Corbin, he's getting to that fan favorite heel status. And what I mean by that is the only time he's really getting heavily booed is when he speaks. When his matches are going on, Corbin is not getting booed all that much. Now, if he hits a big move in the match and he talks a little shit really loud, then that's when the boos happen. But predominantly, when Corbin's matches are going on, he is not getting booed until he opens his mouth. And I think it's a scary situation to throw him in there against Roman because, it seems obvious that, this will be the guy they'll cheer for against Corbin, obviously. But then what if that doesn't happen? You're in a bad situation then. Yeah,
no, you're right. We'll see where they go with that. I would like to see. Like I said, a perfect scenario that would work, but I think they're already starting to turn on Reigns, and maybe that could help. And if that don't work, and then turn the fucking guy heel. Even though Great One says Roman would not go heel, he pulls in too much money. Yeah, well, last time I checked, heels still they sell merch too, and I think they will still.
Hey, at the end of the day, if guys like The Rock and Hogan can go heel, anybody can go heel.
Yeah, and it's possible and make them money. NWO was proof of that. All right, let's go right into the final question. Of course, we got the Superstar Shakeup coming on next Monday and Tuesday. My question for you, name 3 wrestlers you feel are switching brands next week.
Well, I think the 2 obvious choices at this point is probably Drew McIntyre and the Usos. So beyond that, you can throw a bunch of different guys out there as possibilities, but I got this feeling that it's going to be Roman or Strowman also the SmackDown. I just can't decide on which one.
Okay, I'm going to, obviously Usos, I think McIntyre is going. And the final one, it's got to come from the SmackDown side, I think. I see Samoa Joe going to Raw. So Samoa Joe going to Raw, McIntyre going to SmackDown, and then you got the Usos going over to Raw to help out the tag team division over there. So that's what I got. All right.
Do you have anybody from NXT besides Sky Pirates?
Not at this point. If they were going to do the Undisputed Era, it should have happened this week. Doing it after this point is ridiculous. It would be
But what if
retarded
they
to do.
don't? What if they don't? You know, sometimes they announce these switches,
Yeah.
and other times they just do the switch, and the person or persons just shows up, and then they're like, "Oh, the newest member of the Raw roster is." Could a scenario like that possibly still get pulled off for Undisputed Era, where they just show up? Like
I mean, they kind of did that NXT TakeOver. They formed that way. So, yeah, I could see it happening. That's how they operate. Yeah, they could do that anytime. I think if you want that kind of buzz, though, you want to do that after Mania.
But I still think they could get that buzz if they show up. And, well, especially if they came out and just destroyed, I don't know, a team like Ricochet and Aleister Black, a good example. I don't know. I'm going a surprise one, and I'm going to say Undisputed Era to SmackDown as my surprise pick.
All right. Well, that's it. That's all we got to cover today. Yeah, as far as what you say, we'll see where to go with that. All right, everyone, thank you for tuning in. This was the portion of the SmackDown Live portion of the show. Like I told you again, on Tuesdays we cover Raw, Wednesdays we cover SmackDown on this very channel, also on YouTube, also on Mixer, also on Periscope, about 11:30 Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday and Wednesday morning. Follow us on Twitter when we're not live on the show. I'm under Go Home Wrestling. He's at DShep1979. And again, if you're not able to catch the show live, we're going to be, if you're watching us on Twitch, we got the links to our podcast in the profile. You go, pretty much on any podcast platform, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Google, Anchor FM, now Podbean, under the Go Home Wrestling Show. I was thinking of lumping these shows together, but I'm thinking of doing them separate. I think this will be good. And thank you so much for the people that have been coming in, because we actually had 2 great crowds today and yesterday. Thank you for the continued support. We'll be back next week for another edition of Raw Review. And thank you. Oh, man. I mean, what a great week. We were spoiled with a lot of great wrestling. Of course, they had to after Mania. Do you have any closing thoughts before we get off the air?
Just that thank God SmackDown delivered more after Mania than Raw did, because it looked like we were jumping right back into the shit can. And SmackDown, as always, generally 90% of the time does not disappoint. So clap to SmackDown and fuck you to Raw.
All right, well, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. We'll see you next Tuesday for the Raw Weekend Review. Later, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.